right, ready to dive into some seriously cool stuff. Today, we're going deep, literally, into the mysteries of Lake Baikal.
Ooh, Lake Baikal.
Yeah, it's in Siberia. Deepest, oldest freshwater lake on Earth, and the landscape, oh man, it's incredible. But that's not even the most fascinating part. There are tons, and I mean tons, of reports, UFO sightings, all sorts of unexplained phenomena happening around this lake.
We're kidding.
In Russia, it's basically the place for this kind of activity.
It really is. It's almost strange, You've got this lake just teeming with life, diverse life, and yet it's this magnet for the unexplained.
Okay, so let's get to the facts. Back in 2009, U.S. satellites got some pretty crazy images. Two massive circles under the ice, each several kilometers across.
Wow.
What could possibly make those?
Those are huge, yeah. And what's even more intriguing, they weren't permanent. They appeared, disappeared, even seemed to shift locations over time based on the satellite imagery.
Wow.
Yeah, so that raises a big question about what could cause such a thing.
People immediately started throwing out ideas. Underwater alien bases, secret Russian facilities, even just warm water creating weird patterns in the ice.
Right. It's important to look at all the evidence, though. For example, the locations of the circles. They do line up with where people often report UFO sightings. Right. However, without more concrete proof, we just can't say for sure what they were.
Okay, fair enough. And then there's the constant Russian military presence at the lake.
Oh, yeah.
They're basically always there.
Pretty much.
Some people think their real mission isn't training exercises, but guarding something they don't want us to find.
Right. The official reason they give is that Lake Baikal's depth and conditions, they make it a perfect training spot for combat divers.
That doesn't rule out the idea that they could also be watching for unusual activity, right? Maybe even preventing us from discovering something truly extraordinary down there.
I mean, yeah, that's a possibility, for sure. But it's important to stick to the facts, at least for now. And the fact is, there are a military presence, and they have given a reason for it. Whether or not people believe that reason, well...
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Okay, good point. Now, this next one is hard to ignore because it comes straight from the Russian government. In 2014, their state-run media, think of it like Russia's BBC, aired a story about two military experts. And these experts actually warned that Russia could be facing a hostile alien presence.
I remember that.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, and they didn't just pull this out of thin air. They based this warning on reports from people who had been near Lake Baikal. These people claimed to have encountered UFOs or strange beings, and even suffered injuries like blindness, burns, and radiation exposure.
Exactly. And this wasn't some random website or anything. This was their version of official news. That gives it a lot more weight than, say, some conspiracy theory, don't you think?
It does. And, we can even draw a parallel to those Pentagon UFO reports released in 2024. Remember those?
Yeah.
There were documented injuries in those, too, which lends credibility to the idea that at least some of these encounters could be causing real physical harm.
Wow. It's a chilling thought.
Yeah.
So we've got satellite images of strange circles, constant military presence, and now even their own government hinting at possible alien danger. It all paints a pretty wild picture, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it does. It suggests a pattern of unusual phenomena happening around this lake. But again, it's vital to remember, correlation doesn't equal causation.
Right.
We're looking at individual events here. And while they're intriguing, when grouped together, we can't definitively say they're all caused by the same thing.
Okay, you're right. We need to stay grounded in the facts. But sometimes the facts themselves are pretty unbelievable. Let's talk about some of the more first-hand accounts people have shared. One that really sticks out is from the 1980s. A scientific expedition was studying how light penetrated the lake's water.
Okay. And they claim to have encountered something truly bizarre. A glowing floor deep down, which looked more like a glass ceiling, hinting at something being below it.
I can't even imagine seeing that. It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Do we know if they took any pictures?
Only one photograph of this alleged event has ever surfaced. So, it makes it hard to verify, even if the scientists involved all stick to their story.
Right. But then there are stories about what happened after. The military supposedly sent divers down to investigate, and they encountered a metallic object. Rising up from the lake bed, they were actually fired upon and had to retreat.
What?
If true. That's incredibly scary.
It would suggest hostility for sure, or at the very least, something defending whatever lies beneath the lake, with potentially lethal force.
So what are we to make of all this? It almost seems like whatever is down there, someone or something is fiercely protecting it.
It's certainly a compelling narrative, but we have to be careful not to let speculation run wild, Remember, we're dealing with limited information. It's easy to fill in the gaps with our own assumptions.
Yeah, I hear that.
Let's stick to analyzing the details we do have.
Okay, I hear you. Let's move on to another mysterious aspect of Lake Baikal, the legend of the Devil's Cauldron.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, these are specific locations in the lake where boats and even people have completely vanished without a trace. And a recurring detail in many of these accounts is a sudden, unexplained mist that appears right before the disappearances.
Spooky.
Yeah.
Think about it. You're out on this beautiful lake, everything seems fine, then mist rolls in, and B.O. gone.
Just like that.
There's one incident from 2011. A Yamaha boat vanished. Just like that.
Yeah, and there are multiple eyewitnesses who described the same thing, this thick mist enveloping the boat. Right before it disappeared, they searched, but neither the boat nor the people on board were ever found.
Chilling.
It is.
Some people say these areas are cursed, others think maybe sudden methane eruptions are to blame. But could it be something more sinister lurking in those depths? Something that uses the mist as cover?
I mean, the consistent appearance of the mist is certainly a detail that demands further investigation. Is it a natural phenomenon? Or could there be something else entirely at play? We can't discount any possibility without more evidence.
That's true. That's true.
And it's important to remember that these accounts we're discussing, while intriguing, they're often based on anecdotal evidence. We need to approach them with a healthy dose of skepticism, while remaining open to the possibility that there's more to them than meets the eye.
You're right. It's easy to get carried away with the more sensational aspects of these stories, but that's why it's so important to focus on the facts. Speaking of facts, what about the scientific research happening at Lake Baikal? I know there are teams studying the ecosystem, but are any of them looking into these strange events?
Well, most of the research focuses on the lake's unique biology and geology, which, it's fascinating in its own right. However, there are a few independent researchers who are specifically looking into these anomalies. They're examining historical data, eyewitness accounts, and any physical evidence they can find to see if there are any patterns or connections.
And have they found anything concrete so far?
Well, it's still early days for their research, and they face challenges like limited funding and access to information.
Of course.
Some preliminary findings, DO suggest that certain areas, like the Devil's Cauldron we were just talking about, show a higher concentration of unusual activity.
That makes sense. If these events are connected somehow, you'd expect them to cluster in specific locations. But how do they explain the variety of phenomena? We're talking UFOs, objects underwater, boats vanishing, even reports of strange creatures.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? It's difficult to find one explanation. That accounts for the sheer diversity of these reports. Some researchers believe that multiple factors could be at play, possibly interacting in ways we don't yet understand.
So instead of trying to pick one cause, maybe we need to consider a combination of factors.
Precisely. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with pieces from different boxes. Some of the phenomena might be connected, while others are entirely separate, each with their own explanation. For instance, geological features, like underwater vents or gas pockets, might explain some of the visual phenomena or strange sounds people have reported.
Right. And those wouldn't necessarily have anything to do with UFO sightings or disappearing boats. It makes sense to approach each piece of the puzzle individually, while also looking for any potential links between them.
Exactly. And that's the approach those independent researchers are taking. It's a complex undertaking, but they're committed to following the evidence wherever it leads.
It's exciting to think about what they might uncover. This lake truly is a place of endless fascination. But let's be realistic for a moment. If we entertain the idea that something truly extraordinary is happening at Lake Baikal, what would that mean for us, for our understanding of the world?
Well, it would be a paradigm shift, no question. It would challenge the very foundations of our scientific understanding and force us to reevaluate our place in the universe.
Imagine if we were to confirm the existence of an advanced underwater civilization, or even make contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. It would be a world-changing event.
It would, and even if we don't find evidence of something quite that dramatic, the study of these anomalies could still lead to significant breakthroughs in science and technology.
That's a good point. The pursuit of the unknown often leads us down unexpected paths, resulting in discoveries we could never have anticipated.
Yeah, for example, imagine if by studying the lake's unusual magnetic fields, or the effects of methane hydrates, we unlock new sources of clean energy, or discover ways to mitigate climate change. Those would be game changers for humanity.
So even if there aren't aliens or underwater cities, exploring these mysteries could still have incredible benefits. It's a win-win situation for science and for humanity.
Precisely. The quest for knowledge is never a wasted effort, regardless of where it leads us. And in the case of Lake Baikal, that quest is just beginning.
Speaking of the quest for knowledge, let's shift our focus to how these mysteries have impacted the people who live near Lake Baikal. I know it holds a special place. In the hearts of the local communities, how have these stories and legends shaped their beliefs and traditions?
Well, Lake Baikal is deeply woven into the cultural fabric of the region, especially for the indigenous Buryat people. Their spiritual beliefs are closely tied to the lake. They see it as a sacred place, a home to spirits and deities, and these stories of strange phenomena, passed down for generations, only strengthen their reverence for the lake's power and mystery.
It's a powerful example of how the natural world can inspire awe and shape entire cultures. It shows a deep connection between humanity and the environment. That goes beyond simple survival.
It does. It reminds us that we're part of something larger than ourselves, something ancient and mysterious, and that for some cultures, embracing the unknown is as important as trying to explain it.
That's a beautiful perspective. It makes you wonder if our constant need to categorize and explain everything is actually limiting our ability to truly appreciate the wonders of the world.
Perhaps it is. Perhaps sometimes. The most important thing is simply to observe, to listen, and to allow ourselves to be humbled at the mysteries that surround us.
Well said. Now, I'm curious about the economic impact of these mysteries. Has the allure of the unexplained brought more tourism to the region?
Absolutely. Lake Baikal has become a popular destination for all sorts of people. Adventure seekers, those fascinated by the paranormal, and people who are simply curious about the unexplained. You can find tours focusing on UFO hotspots, expeditions searching for underwater creatures, even spiritual retreats based around the lake's supposed mystical energy.
It's amazing how the pursuit of the unknown can drive economic growth and cultural exchange. It brings people from all walks of life together, united by a common sense of wonder.
It's a testament to the power of mystery, to connect us, to inspire us, and to remind us that there's always more to discover.
Now, we can't ignore the skepticism. Surrounding these kinds of phenomena, there are plenty of people who dismiss these stories as hoaxes, hallucinations, or just plain old tall tales. How do we approach those criticisms fairly?
Well, it's all about balance. We need to be open to the possibility of the extraordinary, while also applying critical thinking and scrutinizing the evidence. Not every account is equally credible, and some are more compelling than others.
Right, it's like separating fact from fiction.
Exactly. We have to carefully examine the sources of information, consider the biases of the people involved, and look for corroborating evidence.
And it's important to avoid jumping to conclusions. Just because we don't have a readily available explanation for something doesn't automatically mean it's supernatural or extraterrestrial.
Right. Often, what initially seems mysterious can later be explained by science or rational inquiry, but that doesn't mean the journey of exploration and discovery is any less valuable.
I agree. The unknown is constantly shrinking as our knowledge expands, but that doesn't mean the sense of wonder and the drive to explore
Have to diminish. On the contrary, the more we discover, the more we realize how much more there is to learn. And that's what keeps the spirit of exploration alive.
Well said. So what's next for research and exploration at Lake Baikal? What are the key areas that scientists are focusing on?
Well, there's a growing interest in using advanced technology to explore the depths of the lake. For example, remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, are being used to reach areas that are too dangerous or simply inaccessible for human divers.
That's exciting. Those technologies open up a whole new world of possibilities for discovery.
They do. They allow us to observe and study parts of the lake that have never been seen before, potentially revealing new species, geological formations, or even clues to the mysteries we've been discussing.
And what about the search for new life forms? I know Lake Baikal is already known for its incredible biodiversity, but are there still undiscovered creatures lurking in its depths?
Well, scientists believe there are still many unknown species in the lake, especially in the deeper regions. Recent expeditions have already discovered fascinating new creatures, including crustaceans, fish, and even previously unknown bacteria.
It's incredible to think that there are still creatures out there that we haven't even identified yet. It really highlights the vastness and complexity of the natural world.
It does. It reminds us that despite all our scientific advancements, we've only just begun to scratch the surface of what there is to know about our planet.
That's both humbling and inspiring. It makes you want to grab a submersible and dive right in to see what's down there.
I understand the sentiment, but before we all rush off to explore the depths, let's not forget about the importance of conservation efforts. Yeah, Lake Baikal, it's facing some serious environmental challenges.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pollution from industrial waste, agricultural runoff, and the impacts of climate change are all taking a toll on this incredible ecosystem.
That's a major concern. We can't lose sight of the fact that, while we're exploring these mysteries, we also have a responsibility to protect this unique and precious place.
Absolutely. Conservation efforts are crucial to preserving Lake Baikal for future generations. And it's not just about protecting the lake itself, but also the incredible biodiversity it supports, much of which is found nowhere else on Earth.
It's a delicate balance, isn't it? Exploring the unknown, while ensuring we don't harm the very thing. That makes this place so special.
It is, and it requires a collaborative effort between scientists, policymakers, local communities, even tourists, to ensure that Lake Baikal remains a source of wonder and inspiration for generations to come.
Well said. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this incredible place. We've covered so much. From strange satellite images and military presence, to firsthand accounts of bizarre underwater encounters and vanishing boats, we've talked about the scientific research, the cultural significance, and even the potential for economic growth through tourism. But one question still lingers in my mind.
Oh, what's that?
After all this, what do you believe is going on at Lake Baikal?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? As a scientist, I'm naturally drawn to explanations that can be tested and verified. But I can't deny the sheer volume and consistency of these accounts, some of which, defy easy explanation. It's possible we're dealing with natural phenomena that we simply haven't discovered or fully understood yet. Perhaps there are geological or meteorological processes at work that create these unusual events.
That's certainly possible. But there's a part of me that can't help but wonder if there's something more to it. The idea that Lake Baikal might be a window into something beyond our current understanding. A place where the veil between our world and something else is thin is incredibly intriguing.
It is a tantalizing thought, and even if we never definitively solve these mysteries, the exploration itself has been incredibly valuable. It's pushed the boundaries of our knowledge, challenged our assumptions, and reminded us that the universe is full of wonders that we may never fully comprehend.
Well said. And that's what makes this whole journey so fascinating, isn't it? The pursuit of knowledge, the exploration of the unknown, the constant reminder that there's always more to discover.
Exactly. And Lake Baikal, with its breathtaking beauty and enduring mysteries, is a perfect example of that.
So to everyone listening, we leave you with this. After diving deep into the mysteries of Lake Baikal, what do you believe? Is it all explainable through science? Or is there something more extraordinary at play? Maybe the answers lie hidden deep beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never lose your sense of wonder.